Welcome to BrotoGP. This is episode number 82. This is our second live stream episode, and I hope that everything is working, but I think we got it down pat this time. It is still the off season, but we got plenty to talk about today. In the bottom corner is freaking Kevin.
And George. And my George.
Kev suggested that I have a cat cam going in the other corner over there, but I didn't want to risk it at the moment. Maybe when we get a little more good at this. Down below me, we have the live chat, so you can actually see what you're talking about, which is pretty cool, and that'll actually end up on the video. But I don't know. Last time they bleeped out a lot of the Rob sex tape jokes, and I had to go in there and I had to hit approve. They didn't like the word sex.
Tape was censored?
Yes, it was censored.
Super Gore is on the case? Fuck.
But as you can see, we are missing Everett and we're missing Dennis. It is the Kevin and Rob show once again. But we're going to get this shit done.
We're also missing Dennis's dog, Rusty. What we don't actually want is the cat cam. We want the Rusty cam. So
yeah, Rusty he's an adorable Frenchie, right?
Yes, he is. He's a little gray Frenchie, and he's my best friend.
Everyone's already been asking if you're going to be drinking wine or what you're going to be doing. Tincture in the bong because that's the new legal Cali way.
Yeah, boy. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm doing. I'm actually drinking some $3 Cabernet out of my Hank from Dory coffee mug. If you must know. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's only one glass, dog. That's only one glass.
Does it count as a glass when it's half the bottle of wine? Does it really?
Yes, it counts as one glass. So George is trying to jump up right now. There he is. What's up, buddy boy? But yes, no, I'm not drinking anything out of a bong as of now. I'm not saying I won't, but it's not on the menu.
Ryan Ringstad, no, they did not censor butt sex. They left that one alone. No, Ryan Ringstad, they asked if they censored butt sex on the YouTube chat, and no, it's there. Actually, I probably didn't need to tell you. You can read it yourself on the video. But all right, let's get moving here. So, of course, this podcast, actually, this live stream, I got to switch that up. This episode of BrotoGP.
It's still a podcast, dog. It's the same thing. It's just like Joe Rogan. It's live, and then it comes up. Just like Ducati stealing our mojo and our thunder. We do one thing once in the motorcycle industry, and every fucking asshole in the world starts copying us.
We're going to get there. But of course, this episode of BrotoGP is brought to you by Riders Law. If you need any legal help, and especially if you're in the state of California, please give Riders Law a call. They are our amazing sponsors, as you can see right here. Riders Law is going to be racing at Chuckwalla this weekend. So, Kev, you going to come down, hang out with us?
What? It's the first I've heard of it. If I had a Zuma, I would be on the road already.
Yeah, I'm sure you would. Fabian,
Dakar style, just you don't even know, dog.
Oh, that'd be hilarious. You going over sand dunes with like the little like Zuma tires that are about like that big.
No, because I get a paddle on that bad boy. I get a paddle tire on that thing. You don't even know. I'm just straight through Pismo and everything, paddling it up.
Oh man, someone already said I love two guys agreeing about things on this show.
Yep, get ready for a lot more of that.
So much agreeing. But yeah, Riders Law, they're your California motorcycle accident injury lawyers. So please give them a call. They're helping out motorcycle racing in the United States. They're really helping out my racing. They're helping out club racers. And in order for them to do that, you need to call them when you need a lawyer. So do that. They'll help you out. They'll help us out, and everyone will be really happy. And I mean, really, you could come to MotoAmerica.
If you got hit by a car, maybe not on purpose, but you didn't do your best to avoid the car, and you sued. I'm just saying, a big case like that would kind of help us all out. And what's a broken leg between friends?
between friends, huh? Yeah,
they're all our friends. All you guys are our friends.
It's true. If you get some cool hardware, then you can send us a picture on it. Maybe you'll get a giveaway from BrotoGP or something. Something will happen.
We got giveaways in the works. You guys don't even know.
Yeah, you don't have it yet, Kev, right? Is he going to mail it to you?
Yeah, I don't have it yet, but it will be mailed, and it'll be another one of those things where I probably should just keep it for myself, but I don't.
Yeah, Dennis already said he was going to rig the giveaway so that he could win it.
Correct.
But that's not going to happen.
Can they hear me? Guys, we had a little problem with my mic last time. It broke ahead of schedule, and hearing me was a problem. We've got a little stopgap Band-Aid in the meantime, and people can hear me all right. It's all good.
They're probably going to comment that they can actually hear you better than last time, which they better.
Well, that's the fucking point. I hope so. If it's worse, I'm flipping the desk.
No, the camera's on the desk. Don't flip the desk.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Dang. Okay.
Someone said they're not worried about their leg, but they can't replace their bikes. I don't know about that. I don't know about that.
You can replace your bike with something new. First of all, dude, Sai's going to get you so much money. You're going to get that new Panigale R.
With the V4. With the V4.
Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, that'd be good times. All right. So speaking of the Panigale, I think we're ready to jump into it, right?
I think I'm ready.
The first thing that we're jumping into today is the Ducati winter reveal and them stealing our live stream to YouTube. Okay, no, we're not that full of ourselves. We realize that plenty of other people have live streamed to YouTube.
Speak for yourself. I guarantee you, Claudio was like, "What's that guy? What's that Kev guy up to? What's he doing? We got to get him on board. We don't want to pay him. What a steal!" Is all his ideas.
You don't think they could afford $20,000 a year? It's just like all the other job offers.
Paying Jorge like $90 million a year. They can't afford shit.
Oh, that's true. That's true. But all right, so there's been a little bit of talk about the Ducati reveal. The main thing that everyone, of course, has been talking about is essentially what they feel about the ducks, the ducklets, the winglets, all that stuff. That was like the number one point. Do we even need to cover that?
Yes, because I have a thing. So we'll get into it later about the color scheme being very like mid-era Rothko-esque, and art critic Kevin may appear.
Whoa.
His scarf is here if he decides to appear. And his Warby Parker glasses are here if he decides to appear. But I was thinking, right? Because the first thing I thought was, it doesn't really look like a pack of cigarettes anymore. I'm kind of bummed at the same time, like, the subliminal marketing. But I started thinking, like, pack of cigarettes and marketing and Marlboro and the wings, right? And the wings are, like, the number one thing. Despite the fact that Dovey didn't have the wings most of the time, he mostly only used them when it was in the wet. Otherwise, he went, nardless. But they are most of those wins, their marquee brands, events from last year don't have the wings. So why does the unveiling have the wings? And why are the wings so important to the Ducati marketing, to the Ducati image for their bikes? And I'll tell you why. 2 words: dirty air. You remember that? Hold on, stay with me. Remember when they were talking about the dirty air, the drafting and all that?
Yeah.
Right? Well, what do cigarettes do? They make dirty air. And what was that messed up draft? That was secondhand draft, dog. That was all up on your shit. That was fucking everyone up. And that's the thing Philip Morris knows. They were fucking pumping secondhand draft onto all the bikes behind them and not giving a fuck. Those winglets are effectively a cigarette metaphor. They're ugly and no one really likes them, but at the same time, they're cool. They're cool.
Oh my God.
James Dean didn't drink tea. He smoked unfiltered Marlboros and raced his Porsche around. This cat wants my attention so bad right now.
And it's the cable. It's probably the new cable. I don't even know how to respond to secondhand draft.
Secondhand draft. I'm telling you, it's dirty air all up in the place. That's what they're doing. Everyone was catching on because, again, we spilled the beans, and we know this because Ducati is stealing our ideas and listening to our podcast and getting involved. Don't think we didn't have a mole inside Ducati. We do. And they're stealing our ideas, and they realize, oh shit, Kev Dog spilled the beans on the subliminal marketing where we had that thing look like a pack of cigarettes. But we were grandfathered in with Philip Morris, but they got to get something. And no pub is bad pub. So even if we're talking about secondhand smoke, or even if we're talking about fucking secondhand draft and dirty air and all that, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they need to go further though and make the winglets have like that barcode that was the Philip Morris kind of logo for Ducati.
No, because the salad box is actually a filter. The bike is one giant cigarette, and the front But the wings are where the dirty air comes from, and the weird out-of-place black, like, dark box in the back is the filter. And
That's the filter?
Yeah, that's the filter. And also I'm saying that thing is a cigarette. The whole bike is a cigarette. They changed it from a pack of it. It's red in the front where it's burning bright.
Yeah.
Then it's gray where it's the ashes, and then it's like a little bit of off-white, the color of the fucking wrapping paper. The bike is a cigarette. The whole bike is a cigarette.
Dude, this is some straight up. This is like more sneaky than the fucking Russians getting in on fake news and like spreading that shit around.
That's what I'm saying. Getting involved
this is on point. Holy shit.
The whole bike is a cigarette. It leaks dirty air. It's it's glowing bright at the front and then charred a little bit in the middle. That's the ash layer, bro. You know, when you're flicking them off, and then it's white for where you hold it, and then the fucking salad box is the filter.
Oh my god. Someone just said you were not smoking cigarettes when you came up with this. Let's move on to the I'm not sure. Let's move on to the paint scheme.
I don't want to move on.
You don't want to move on? We're moving on to the paint scheme. So, well, the one thing, we'll transition here from the winglets. The one thing that aero packages in MotoGP have given us, or taken away actually, is the winter bike reveals, right? Because now, Ducati especially, they showed us last year that they weren't going to show everything. And Yamaha did exactly the same last year too. They told us after the reveal was over that it's straight up last year's bike, or last year's fairings with a new paint scheme. And that's the same thing that we got out of Ducati this year. It's exactly, I could not find a single, well, I think the front fender was a little bit different. There seemed to be a slight like raised lip at the back of the front fender. But other than that, it was exactly the same bike. It's probably exactly what they ran at Valencia.
Right. Well, when they pushed the testing limits and changed everything for Ducati last minute, what are they going to do? They haven't tested shit. They don't have new plans for their aero package. So they dropped the old one off, and they spruce it up. They lose some sponsors in the meantime, which is fucking always sweet for when your bike suddenly wins a bunch of races and doesn't have it. Now
wait, who did they lose? Who did they lose?
They don't have the fucking, they got TIM. They
Shit.
The whole front. They said that was gone last year. They announced it, and they have stuff in the works, but it's not finalized yet. Hence the big like black, open blank spot on both of their chests.
Isn't TIM is like Verizon or something in Europe, right?
Fucking some Euro shit.
I'm not even sure. Alex Kirkwood just told me the intake was slightly different, and they removed some ducts. But not the winglet ducts, different ducts. Yeah, right. I mean, but they were changing a lot of those ducts on the side of the bike throughout the entire year. But it just seemed like every fairing that they put out, because they were allowed to change those, they just weren't allowed to change the outside profile of the motorcycle. And yeah, I did see that kind of lip on the intake that came down a little bit more. But that's going to change. Ducati has Gigi Dall'Igna specifically said that we're not going to see their aero package until Qatar, likely. So I can't even get that excited about the reveal. Like the gray on the paint scheme was pretty cool, but it's fucking bold new graphic. It's what we get with production bikes every time they release a new one now.
Yeah, I mean the scheme was kind of cool. I liked it. The ash layer gave a nice contour. The red was kind of a new shade of red. I personally think it looks pretty badass. Again, I've liked wings. I've liked them from the get-go because it's so hyper, it's specific to GP. It's function over form. It's designed specifically with the intent of making the bike go faster. And I sort of like that utilitarian, like, it's almost kind of like brutalist. It's like full. There's art critic Kevin.
I mean, you wouldn't take a race car from this series that shall not be named on the street because it's too utilitarian. It'll never make it over a pothole. And you don't take a fucking MotoGP bike on the street because the winglets just don't work as well if you're not doing 100 miles an hour.
Yeah, at least.
Yeah.
Right. I'm a fan of it. I did like that even though Dovi had, 6 wins or whatever it was, fought for the title, all that, they still kind of like had Jorge in the front of all the pictures. But my favorite thing about the reveal was it's probably gone now, but Jorge had on his stories, I know this because my man sent me the story, where he's like walking around trying to schmooze, and it's fucking clear as day. No one likes Homeboy, right?
Oh my God.
Everyone's
Are you surprised?
Dovi, right? And he rolls up and like gives the guy the bro fist, like we bros, but then he won't let go. And the guy's like, oh, fuck, I'm trying to talk, and now Jorge's up on my shit. He thinks I'm his friend. He's like that kid in high school that you kind of felt bad for, you know, like between classes. So you like said what's up to him a couple times and like fucking gave him the high five, 80s style. And now he thinks you guys are straight up bros. And so when you're pimping on some hot chick in high school and suddenly he rolls up and she's like, whoa, you're friends with fucking Milton? Nah, I'm good. And
it's totally Jorge's MO though, right? He's freaking awkward turtle in all these situations, and he just tries to force the issue. Like, he's not freaking Italian at Ducati, right? It's not going to work out as well as it will work out for Dovizioso. Right. And he hasn't won yet.
Yeah, at all.
Yeah. So, right. I mean, they did kind of play that up. Well, they didn't play up him not winning, but they played up the fact that he expects to win for next year. I mean, where do you think that's going? Do you think he can actually do it?
The idea that they're now saying we expect to win. Bro, everyone expected you to win last year. 2 different guys won on the bike the year before, 2016, and you were getting paid record amounts of money to go over there. Not to bring all your homeboys on male-only volleyball vacations. You were supposed to be, like, literally winning races and fighting for titles.
Yeah, and
like,
I mean...
the whole thing is it's forcefully trying. It's like, you know, that person that like will post on Facebook, like, okay, now something, blah, 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 blah. I'm ready to lose that weight. That's like them trying to convince themselves. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. He is desperately trying to convince himself that he is going to win by stating it publicly. It's like social media loserdom 101, you know, like positive affirmations. He's 2 steps away from posting like David Wolf quotes and shit on his Facebook, like with pictures and stuff, you know, like
there's artist kept coming again.
And like a mountain with like a moon in the back, and it's gonna be like, whether you believe in yourself or you don't, you're right. And I'm like, you know what I mean? Whether you think that his red stripe in his hair was fucking lame, or the weird like lame blonde stripe in his hair was lame, you're right.
It's working out for him. I mean, he's still awkward fucking turtle. I don't know if it's going to pan out for next year. He just needs those results to come through so we get the old Jorge back. If he keeps this barely podiuming streak going, then it's not going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, barely podiuming in a year in which think about it. Like, do you really think next year Yamaha is going to struggle as bad as they struggled this, 2017? Doubtful. You really think Suzuki's going to struggle as bad? They have their concessions, back. They have the ability to test more and do more. And KTM's only getting better. Zarco's only getting better. He got a couple of podiums and some top 5s in a year in which, Livio Suppo may or may not have been holding parts away from other Honda riders. And Yamaha sucked and totally dropped the ball. And Suzuki went their first year without concessions since 2004. You know what I mean? Like, he was perfectly primed for good results. And yeah, the bike might be better. But next year, or I should say this year, 2018, it's only going to be more competitive. You've said this a million times, right? Since basically the advent of the new rules, is that middle pack top 10 is a meat grinder. It's Moto2-esque back there. You could be getting 5th once and 12th the next day.
I do think the meat grinder is going to get worse. I'm hesitant to say that everyone is going to improve closer to the top. A lot of the things that we heard from Honda about the improvements they're making to the bike kind of screams to me, and even Ducati, right? If Ducati gets a handle on the mid corner, both of those 2 factories could pull away a little bit, right? Or even if Yamaha improves just as much, maybe they only improve as much as HRC and Ducati, and the gap stays the same, right? That's the thing. The goalpost is always moving in motorcycle racing. So there's a chance that we could still have a gap at the front, but a gap in the top 10, like, no, you're exactly like you said. You could get a podium one weekend and you could be 12th or 15th the next.
Yeah, there's the green.
Ah, shit. Not already.
Already.
All right, you brought up Livio Suppo, so let's move over to HRC real fast. So
Darth Puig is in the house. Darth Puig, yes.
I feel like for a lot of people around the world that specifically that are not Americans, Alberto Puig becoming the boss of HRC or of the MotoGP racing team is not news. It's just like,
Right.
oh
Right.
yeah, like yeah, of course. Like he's been in the paddock forever. He's got amazing he works great with talent.
His over, his body of work, if you will, is quite extensive and celebrated.
Quite. Yeah. Especially if you're a Spanish fan. It's quite extensive. But we live in America.
Years ago, he said Nicky Hayden couldn't set up a bike, so we got to talk about that.
Yeah, we live in America. And
you're goddamn right we do.
There was this one race that happened in Portugal. Oh. There was this one race that happened in Portugal quite a few years ago, and there were even some rumors that Alberto Puig told Dani Pedrosa to crash into Nicky Hayden, and I'm sure those rumors stemmed from America and the soup. And
no, of course it did, because the only fucking outfit out there more biased than English media is Superbike Planet. They're so bad and so horrible, and they started spreading all these rumors. They couldn't take it, and look. Puig is a complex character for sure. I mean, they don't call him Darth Pugius for no reason. I mean, he's tuned into the dark side, no doubt, but he gets results. Whether you like him or not, he has his case for his ability to find talent and to foster talent is huge. It's why they put him in charge of the Asia Talent Cup, because they know how important the Asian market is in terms of the growing demographic. This guy discovered a litany of winners or popular guys. Everyone, all those people who hate on him for Pedrosa are usually the same people who love Chaz Davies, as if he isn't the one who found Chaz Davis, right?
He totally is. I didn't find that out until 2 years ago when someone finally called out the photo that they have of everyone that Puig found when they were all kids, and it's just Chaz Davis right next to fucking Dani Pedrosa. And yeah,
right. I don't like that people get mad at him about talking. I don't think he talks shit about Nicky, but he downplayed Nicky and talked up his rider. That was his rider. That's his fucking job. I mean, it's literally your job to take the fall for your fucking guy so he doesn't take the heat and he can keep riding, not have to deal with it. That's what you do. Just like a fucking manager of a band always takes the heat, even if it's his lead singer getting drunk and plowing some chicks and can't do the job because his fucking piss burns. You know what I mean? That's it's his fault. That was Puig's job. That's what a good manager does. He keeps his rider built up and doesn't let the outside stuff, and he insulates them from those problems so he can. As much as I like Nicky, and at the time, Pedrosa was kind of a pariah for the Western market. I don't want to say Western, but the American and Anglo market, because those are kind of their, a subgroup of fans is America, Australia, and England, right, or the UK, and then there's the Latin crew and blah, 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 so they kind of stick together.
Yeah, we are a subgroup in MotoGP, for sure.
Yes, and so that's, it's weird, but he gets results. He just, it's like the same thing I could put out Dani Pedrosa. Everyone holds him to, well, you never won the title, so you suck.
Well, someone already asked that too. Are we going to see the rise of Pedrosa? Pedrosa with a Z, of course.
They kind of had a falling out, and not a lot of people know this because, again, insulated, but Puig was doing commentary for Spanish channel coverage, and he was taking it to task on Pedrosa a little bit. He was saying his head wasn't in it, or he wasn't training right, he was making mistakes. So there's actually kind of a rift there between him and Dani.
Do you remember what year that was specifically?
No.
I mean,
that was recently.
But that year, that was 2012 or something, or 2013.
No, they had their split. No, this is last year when I'm talking about these comments that he made about Pedrosa.
Oh, these comments are from last year.
Pretty nasty dry spell. Last year was really bad before the end when he started doing well. So, yes, him and Pedrosa split a couple of years ago, and why they split, it's kind of never a good sign. And then, what are you drinking there? You sponsored? We sponsored yet? Any drinks want to sponsor us? Hey. Cigarettes want to sponsor us? What is it?
It's a collaboration beer made by Belching Beaver the Brewery and literally someone in the Deftones.
Wow. Okay, Chino?
I don't know. Do you want me to read the label?
That's the only guy in the Deftones.
Yes, envisioned by Chino Moreno.
Yeah, of course it is. It's the only guy in the Deftones. It's actually only one guy in that band.
I didn't know that.
Anyway, like I was saying about Puig, and so he, there's some drama there with him and Pedrosa, but there's also drama there with him and Marquez because him and Marquez's main man, how do you say that guy's name? Alzamora.
Alzamora.
Yeah, bro.
No, they've never got along. No, there's no way.
Getting along. No way. And so not only is Puig's, him and Marquez and that crew not getting along, but there is some rumblings, what's Puig known for the most? Other than backing up Pedrosa for being the dude who spots talent. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like he's the guy who spots the talent. And you're telling me that Alberto or that Puig isn't hot to trot on the Mir bandwagon right now and thinking we got to get Mir. That's the next kid. We got to foster him, get him to Repsol Direct. That is fucking derailing the Alex Marquez plans all day, son.
I mean, that's the main point that I took away from the Puig signing was that they're setting up HRC for the future, right? It's going to be like maybe the next year or whatever might not have that much of an impact and no one really will notice any changes throughout the paddock, but it's going to be very good for HRC in 2 to 3 years when some of the people are retiring. Yeah, go ahead.
They cannot be as dependent on Marquez as they are.
Yeah, well,
that's
we know they can't be dependent on baby Marquez.
Right. What is Livio Suppo? He brought Casey Stoner with Ducati. He comes over to Honda and then switches him. Like Suppo knows what the after effects of focusing too much effort on one rider can do, or not listening to your other ones. And you have the same problem at Honda right now, and you have some rumblings that maybe other riders weren't getting the parts they should have been getting because they had to protect Marquez. I see you smiling. You know what I'm talking about.
Should we talk about Suppo then in a little more detail?
Hold on, I'll get to it. I'm going to get to it.
All right.
So, the problem with, so they're a little bit worried because right now Marquez, homeboy holds all the cards.
Oh, yeah.
He might say, and Suppo might say, he's not racing for the money. He's just racing to win for a championship bike. That's backwards ass talk for, dog, give me a good bike or I'm bouncing because I'm only racing for good stuff. I'm not here to win 5 races, 6 races, and barely beat Dovey for the title. I'm here to be the best there ever was. And winning 6 races a year every year is not going to do it. He's already seasons behind. You know what I'm saying? Like in terms of total race wins. And not holding back from that, what I'm saying is he holds all the cards, and if he wants to bounce, if he wants to take that sweet, sweet Red Bull money for KTM, fuck it. And Honda is fucked. And so Darth Puig is in there to not take shit from no one, to get that thing set up and start fostering their talent from Asia Talent Cup and all that stuff up and to take no business. The other thing is, now this is how I'm going to get to Suppo.
Wait, hold on.
All
right, go ahead.
Puig gets a lot of shit because that dude is shifty as fuck looking. When you look at Puig, you think that guy's a double agent. You know what I'm saying? Like if he was in Atomic Blonde, the movie, Puig, you'd have been like, nah, that guy's a double agent right then. You'd have known. He's a shifty looking motherfucker. Meanwhile,
he'd be the bad guy in every fucking movie for sure.
Everything he ever did, he'd be a bad guy.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Suppo is like this charismatic Italian. He's got like the striking blue eyes. He's like handsome and all that. He's the fucking evil one for reals because he's fucking too good. If this was Atomic Blonde, he's Charlize Theron. He's like the rugged dude version of it. He's the one pulling the strings, fucking everything up. And I'm just saying, did he suddenly decide to leave out of nowhere, or did they tell him, bro, you got to get to stepping?
I'm leaning towards, based on hearing some recent rumors, is that they told him to bounce. Yep. It was a very polite, like, kick in the ass to get out the door because they wanted someone that would foster more talent. They wanted someone that would actually make HRC better. So, I mean, if you haven't heard, everyone, Livio Suppo was accused of withholding parts from the satellite teams in an attempt to slow them down to make sure that Marc Marquez had an easier time with all of them.
What they didn't want to repeat was 2004-5, where 2004 specifically, where too many Hondas were fighting amongst themselves, and hence they lose to Valentino because they're spreading the points and the wins out. It was insulated. It was kind of like 2007 where 2008 they slowed down Elias on that satellite Ducati so that Stoner could continue to fight for things. It's kind of a similar situation, which again he was there and sort of did.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not outside of what factories do. We know for a fact that the second tier and third tier bikes are slower. Like, that's just how it works. It just seemed that Suppo was going against the will of HRC at the time, and it was the wrong time for him to pull that card out.
Suppo got, what they did to Suppo was the same thing Kmart did to me when I was 16. They said, bro, we caught you. You gotta quit or you're fired. We caught you. We can't prove everything, but am I saying that Livio Suppo stole one 20-ounce of Pepsi and a king-size Reese's every single day for his lunch break? I'm not saying he did. I'm just saying maybe he did.
Wait, a king-size Reese's and a 20-ounce of Pepsi.
Well, and then the other thing we did is, so I was in the Kmart Mafia with me and my crew, and what we did was there was a whole... So Pokemon exploded back in the day, right? Remember the Game Boy Pokemons? You could not get those.
The red and the blue ones.
Get those is because we stole them all and put them in a backpack. And then my boy, Jason, puts the backpack through the register and rings up and buys his JanSport. And he single straps it, because this is 97. He single straps it with his Pokemon straight out. And I'm the cart guy. So he's filling the carts with the stolen merchandise and the purchased JanSport single strapping, and then I'm putting the carts in and hiding all the stuff. Then we go on eBay and we're slanging Pokemon for like $1.50 a piece. You know what I'm saying?
Damn.
So they catch on. The problem is,
you think?
Hold on. You think these 16-year-olds were so fucking sweet no one was going to catch us? Fucking invincible, right?
Yep.
So, we didn't even think people could smell us when we were 16. You ever smell a 16-year-old boy? Holy shit, those are some stank-ass rooms. But we're like, nah, it's good. But anyways, so I can't get caught because I'm the outside guy. I'm the driver. There's no fucking there's no bank footage of your homeboy K-Dog there, man. But they know for a fact I was involved, and I'm pretty sure you stole a 20-ounce of Pepsi and a king-size Reese's every single day for 16 months. So,
wow, that's really nice of them just allow you to fucking quit.
Yes, so I quit, but couldn't tell my parents. So for 2 weeks, I didn't go to work. I went to my man Nick's house and played Doom on PlayStation.
Wait, was he also in the Kmart Mafia? Did he get fired?
He was not in the Kmart Mafia, but he joined me in the Mervyn's Mafia 2 weeks later.
Wait. So you got because you didn't actually get fired from Kmart. You were able to get a job at fucking Mervyn's. Dude, Mervyn's... Oh, God, fucking Mervyn's. That takes me back.
Me and my homeboy were the only dudes in the whole store.
Oh, wow.
Great.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. All right, let's get back to some motorcycle racing.
What I'm saying is he got Kmarted.
He totally did.
He got Kmarted, but he left, he didn't leave in disgrace. He left, they let him leave with his head hanging high and said, you don't say anything, we won't say anything, but you're out.
Yeah, and then someone said something, and now we know. All right,
knowing is half the battle.
What's the other half? Do you know? Am I going to get you the shirt?
Blue lasers.
And red lasers.
Blue and red lasers.
All right. So people. Well, so we had a good comment here that don't worry, Honda. Cal is waiting in the wings. And Cal is the human test rider. But apparently the rumor was also started by Cal that Suppo was, which it actually kind of makes sense, right? If you weren't getting the parts that you wanted and you knew it was Suppo's fault, you'd probably tell someone. Maybe that's how we know,
there, right?
Maybe that's how we know. There. Yeah, because Cal was just in Southern California. Actually, he owns a home down here now, and he was at the A1 Supercross bicycle rides. Maybe that's when he told everyone, because that's about when I found out. Shit.
Right.
Good timing. It was totally Cal. It was totally Cal.
Spreading the rumors. Fucking Cal. Fucking Cal.
All right, before we move off of Honda, someone wants us to talk about Morbidelli's timing. Connor wants us to talk about it.
Oh yeah, so he talked about this before. We've talked about like the timing of when you get on, like when you get your bike, when you get your ride. And
Yeah,
actually, we've talked about this before, and I commented like Mavericks was amazing timing.
perfect.
He gets perfect timing. Couldn't be any more perfect to slot right in, right?
The anti-Redding timing.
Right, and to go that point, Redding is the worst timing. He comes in, he gets that weird production Honda. He has that for too long. Then he gets the Honda, then the tire switch. He bounces, and then he gets to Ducati. Except that's when Petrucci's coming into his own. Redding, I liked Redding a lot. I like him a lot still because he has that lamb sheep thing going on. Although I don't know what happened. That hasn't been on Instagram that much. Maybe they realized that wasn't the greatest idea and took it back. But
they rented the animal. They rented it.
Yeah, they rented the animal. Redding got kind of screwed by his timing, whereas Maverick was flattered by his timing, big time. And Morbidelli's timing, I mean, go ahead, Rob.
I mean, I feel like he's kind of in the middle, right? He's on a... he's definitely better off than a open Honda or CRT or whatever the hell that Redding got to ride. But he's still on an inexperienced team on a satellite Honda, which is on the third tier Honda, which is generally like the factory that treats their riders the worst.
Right.
Because he's in the middle, I really don't know where this is going to lead for him. Like it could be absolute shit, just like it has been for a bunch of other Honda satellite riders, right? It could be the Jack Miller sort of, we're just bringing you here to hold you over so that you can't go somewhere else. But he could turn it around, right? Like the one unknown is his talent on that motorcycle.
No, the big unknown is Puig going to support the What are you laughing? I'm making a fucking...
No, I know. I know it's a serious point. Yeah.
It's sort of been like, why does such a well-funded team, which includes a whole farm system, which has brought Honda world championship after world championship, been like the whipping boy of their main team? In fact, if anything, for real talk, why are they treated worse than LCR? I mean, they've got nothing else going on, right?
Because they're fresh, because they're rookies, because they're new, because they literally don't have the team to be able to put together a solid performance. They're new in GP.
Right, but that's part of Honda's. It's true, but I just mean like that's part of Honda's role is to make sure that they have the right personnel, to get them right there, to have the factory technicians. I mean, Carl told us, we talk about when Ducati they have direct links to the factories, they share the data, they got factory technicians in there helping them with stuff.
Yeah, and that's Ducati. That's exactly the contrast between Ducati and HRC, and that's why I said earlier.
The question of our timing is, did he time it right to where he timed it to where Puig is coming in and shaking things up and saying Honda needs to be healthier all around? First things first.
How much does Puig like Valentino Rossi?
I don't think. Him and Danny Rossi and Danny were always crew. Yeah. I don't think Puig has there is no. It's like he doesn't have an opinion. You know what I'm saying?
Which is better. Yeah, which is better than him having a bad opinion,
certainly,
right? Because
you've never heard of any issue between them. And the other thing is if Puig is the man at recognizing talent, he's the guy who brings things up. Who's the other guy doing that? Yeah. Valentino is the one built a farm system for one of the most popular countries for the sport in the world. Puig knows you got to be on the good side of that because that's where the good riders are coming from. So many high-end riders. You're looking at that thinking, damn, they're going to have a quarter of the grid in 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what I was bringing up. Like, if Puig actually respects Rossi's kind of training and doesn't want to outly screw him, right? If he's not just taking his rider to get him out of MotoGP, right? Then he may actually have recognized the talent, and he may have recognized that Rossi already put in a lot of the work. Right? Puig doesn't need to train him from a younger kid and bring him up through the ranks. Maybe he could actually bring Morbidelli up further into HRC and have him on a good ride in a couple of years.
Right. There's simply no way any team manager right now can be on bad terms with Valentino. You don't have to be on great terms.
For so many reasons.
For so many reasons. Look, if you want to be his rival, that's great. Marquez and that team can be on bad terms, and having a hardcore rivalry is good for the sport. But as someone in the back who's talking about the health of the sport for the next 5 to 10 years, you can't be, because Valentino is too involved in the next generation of riders, and you'll alienate yourself from too many potential stars and too many potential champions.
Yeah.
You can't alienate yourself from, you're talking about even riders on the periphery who don't ride for VR46 team. They're part of the academy. Those are riders that ride for Honda, and Yaya Bastianini and fucking Nico Antonelli, like all kinds of riders who don't ride for the VR46 team specifically, train, are taught and fostered and branded by the academy. That's why the academy has its own Facebook, Instagram, Twitter page, and website, because it's a secondary brand. You can't alienate yourself from that.
I mean, I think the nationality for Rossi like supersedes the riding for a different factory at
Right.
in the lower classes specifically. We haven't really seen how far that goes in the top class, and whether or not that, like, it might not matter that much when someone's not challenging Rossi, but we've questioned this before, right? The second you might be Rossi's friend when he's beating you, but the second that you start challenging him, it's over.
Right.
So I wonder how that's going to go with someone in MotoGP that is a part of the academy, that gets a higher level ride, and is able to challenge him.
If Valentino truly wants to be a teacher, okay, truly wants to be that, if that's the transition he's making, the number one goal of a teacher, of a professor, a teacher, whatever, is to make your pupil smarter, faster, stronger, better than you were. Yeah. You are supposed to be, he needs to meet your level, and then you push him past where you are at. That's what any sports, that's what anyone does in terms of teaching in sports and moving on. That's your
not
plan.
Even just sports, training in almost any field.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Training in almost anything. Every professor who's training their kid in their PhD system hopes that they stand on their shoulders and improve their research. Every, every coach in sports thinks the same thing. Every teacher, every art teacher thinks that, they want their guy to be the guy who paints the next masterpiece that surpasses them. That's got to be, because that's how you teach. That's where you gain your success, by basking in the glory of what your student has accomplished. I don't think it's going to be the same, because Marquez was a rival. Valentino and Morbidelli, or Valentino and Pecco, though they're not rivals, he is bringing them to his level in the hopes that they move past him. At least I got to think that's what he's doing. Otherwise, there's no reason you train your own rivals. I mean, it's got to be what it is.
And the other thing too, right? It could be very well timed, such that, he is timing it quite well, such that these people are going to be coming to the top as he is stepping out of the limelight and as he's stepping out of GP.
You would not train every single day with the person you're going to compete against, because they know all your. Here's a good example. I compete in jiu-jitsu, like we've talked about this, and my boy Dan, I have significantly better results than Dan does in tournaments. But Dan whips my ass on the daily. I mean, for real. This guy chokes me out all the time because he knows the ins and outs of my game to such an extent that he exposes, finds the holes, and moves me up. But if I'd actually compete against Dan, he'd probably win, despite the fact that my resume of results is quite a bit better. And it's because day in and day out training makes a rival know you. They're not your rival. They're the person you use to find the holes in your game, and vice versa. There's no way that that's why Valentino and Marquez don't ride together. That's why when Marquez brought an HRC technician to the fucking ranch to win, Valentino's like, yo, what are you doing? We're supposed to be helping each other here. Those guys, that's why Super Prestigio was broadcast live all these years, and it's the Marquez event, but Rossi does the 100-kilometer race, and they just have some highlights later. They don't make a big thing out of it, because it's about those guys pushing each other forward, and Valentino using those guys to push himself up until it's time for them to shine.
All right, it's already been brought up in the comments, and you've already said the name. So let's talk about Pecco now.
Man.
So rumor is that Pecco already has a signed deal with Pramac for 2019.
Of course he does.
Yeah, of course.
Right.
I mean, I'm surprised we haven't heard something like this about Joan Mir already.
My favorite thing about the thing was that, like, Reddit's going to explode because those dudes are fucking dick riding Jack Miller like crazy, which is cool. I mean, I'm not hating on Miller. I like the guy, but everyone acts like he's the second coming, and because he was kind of fast on the Ducati testing, that mattered. Like, everyone forgets it was only a couple of years ago that Scott Redding was fast as fuck in the preseason tests on that Pramac Ducati. When was the last time a non-Italian on Pramac had any kind of investment whatsoever?
And got any sort of results?
Right, and cared about it all. They don't give a fuck about non-Italians. They fucking dumped Cal from the factory team. Redding basically admitted he had no emotional connection to his team whatsoever. As bad as it sounds, look, man, Michele Pirro has more interest and support than fucking Jack Miller is going to get. Straight up. The only reason Jack Miller is in GP right now is because Honda purposely derailed his career, Millergate. And once you're in GP, you don't leave GP. You will hang around. Look how long it took Hector Barber to finally go to Moto2.
Oh, finally.
You will hang around like a motherfucker.
And they both have the same amount of experience, Jack Miller and Barber in Moto2. So
Right. Correct.
Yeah, I mean, well, Miller, I feel like the paddock is pushing people out faster, right? Like, we saw what happened to Lowe's. Barber is finally gone, right? I expect Bautista and a bunch of other riders to bounce soon as well. Like, with all the contract shit that's going to happen next year, it's going to be gnarly.
Yeah, we're getting to that.
Oh, yeah, we're getting to that. And Pramac signing Bagnaia already is just ensuring that they have a really good talent already. And it's an Italian. He rides for the VR46 crew. It's exactly what Ducati wants. The only thing, it's not what Rossi wants. He's not on a Yamaha. I mean, actually, I don't know if he wants that, but
yeah, I mean, it makes so much sense. It'd be ridiculous not to do it. The team is decent. You can podium in good conditions. Hopefully, they get continued better, connection to Ducati, and they want Italian riders. Ducati is so insulated with Italians these days, and that's by design. And you can't say it's not working for whatever reason. It's the results are showing that they're getting better. I really think Miller's just stopgap till they can get some of these riders up. I mean, they're not going to get rid of Petrucci, clearly by his results. And Pecco's the new thing. He won on the Mahindra in the dry. He got their first podium. He got their win. He was incredible in Moto3. We saw, and you've talked about this a million times, what did he do his first year in Moto2? He was already fast. He podiumed multiple times. He was looking good, and that was on a brand new team. So brand new to the series team, brand new to the series rider, and he was getting multiple podiums. He's got the talent. I bet you that kid wins races this year, depending on KTM. They might end up ruling the roost. But Pecco, right, that's kind of a weird thing. It's hard to predict.
We said that last time, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good timing for Pecco, too, because the rule changes will come into Moto2, and you know that sticking around in a series when the rules change, like when you're trying to advance your career, is always a big risk. Yeah, right. It's because it can go, if your team gets it right, and or the factory, now that Moto2 actually has factories, it can work out. But there's so much more risk about things going wrong, and then you go from a championship contender one year to a nobody the next year, and then your entire career is derailed. So for Pecco to jump to Pramac already in 2019, solid move for him too.
It would be safer to jump to Pramac because, again, like we just said, once in GP, always in GP. You know what I mean? Like, once you're there, you're in. And it's not like Ducati, like, unlike Yamaha, and for the most part Honda, who don't really elevate up, you can always say, hey, Ducati elevated Iannone. They took him from Pramac. He got factory parts. They bumped him up when he was looking good and they had the opening. It's like the same situation. He can at least point to it and say, Dumb and Dumber style. So you're telling me there's a chance.
There's a bigger chance that he'll get factory parts at Pramac than in Dumb and Dumber.
Right. Exactly. So, I mean, for him to the rumor, and this is going to lead us into our other topic, but You got to sign that guy up quick. I mean, it's early as hell, and you don't even know. Maybe you accidentally fuck up and you do a Quattararo thing, right, where he turns out he's a total bust for Moto2 and that year Moto3. But you got to lock him up because too many riders next year have their contracts up, and it's going to be fucking free-for-all. And if you want to have a stable and focus on the season and not be chasing riders and worried about what's going to happen next year, just lock up a nice young prospect, slot him in next to the guy who's your veteran who's doing well, and tell Miller, hey, man, thanks for the fucking Fosters. Have a nice day.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. It is really freaking early. I'm trying or struggling to think of a time where a satellite team has gone this early for new talent. Right? Like, it happens with factory teams. Like, Jorge was signed,
in pre-contract, like 2 years in advance.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Marquez, right? We know he's been in that team for God knows how long and probably had a contract years before. Like, I can't remember, though, a satellite team doing this. And to me, it kind of speaks to the fact that Pramac is definitely junior factory Ducati, and they're trying to bring in that talent, right? They probably got Gigi and Eyebrows to freaking sign off on that, and it's like, yeah, go for it. We're cool with you having that rider in there, and we will support him, and they're happy about the support they're going to get from Ducati for their new rider.
Right, and I don't, and not to keep beating on the VR46 Academy drum, but what do you get when you But what do you get when you sign a VR46 Academy rider? A guy who you know is going to get regular training from Valentino, who's going to get strong, powerful branding from Valentino, which you're going to benefit from in terms of money. You know that you're going to get practice, practicing, you're going to get mentoring, you're going to fostering. So when you sign that rider, you're signing not only him, but an entire support structure for your team. Like you're signing like a granny unit. You know what I mean? Like, you might buy a house, but if you find out that house is a dope granny unit in the back, that's what I'm saying. That's where the shit happens. You know, and the magic goes down in the granny unit. And so, right? So when you sign Pecco, you know that you're getting solid support. You might sign some rider and wonder, I mean, you know, you might sign your Iannone and be like, man, what if the guy goes off the deep end and just turns his whole thing into like a gay porn Instagram stories? Maybe that's distracting. Maybe Kevin Schwantz doesn't like that. But if you sign Pecco or you sign Morbidelli, you're signing someone who you know is being fostered in the whole art of being a GP rider, which is a hell of a lot more than just riding a motorcycle all the time. That's money,
good references.
Money.
Oh yeah, tons. It's ridiculous. All right, but I know what you really want to talk about now. So you already
nuts?
Besides that. All right, so I think the best thing that happened like the past 2 weeks, and we're gonna skip.
They saying what's going on over there? I can't see it.
They were talking about Morbidelli. Someone talked about Rossi retiring.
Question, never happening.
Yeah, never happening. 1 year contract. Don't think he'll go past 2019. I don't know, Ruben. I don't know. All right. Speaking of factory contracts and speaking of 2019, who said this? It was Lynn Jarvis that came out, right? And said that Lynn Jarvis said that the factories need to come together and keep the rider contract prices and the salaries under control. fucking collusion. People. There was no collusion?
Okay. No collusion. None at all. Zip. No collusion. It's fake news.
Totally fake news. I mean, he has a point, right? I can't remember. I don't think a time has ever existed where 12 factory riders in MotoGP have had all their contracts expire and everyone hunting for, a 3 or 4. Right? There's a lot of money.
This many teams, right?
Yeah, it's 6 teams.
Yeah, that many solid high-end teams. I mean, it's a fucking bidding war. I mean, it's going to be a bidding war, and Jarvis is trying to cut this off at the pass, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, we know that the discrepancy in talent.
For people who don't know exactly what we're saying, Jarvis literally said, "There's 12 factory riders. There's this many teams. It used to be like 3 good teams, so it wasn't a big deal. But like the factories have to come together and figure out something to keep an arms race of salaries from happening."
Yeah, I mean, we already know that Ducati is willing to pay. They paid for Jorge. Honestly, they probably won't have any more money after this next year, and especially if he doesn't win that or does do that well. But I mean,
there's a reason that bike is shaped like a cigarette. Y'all better hope a bunch of 15-year-olds start smoking and get addicted because they need long-term support if they want to sign a good rider again.
Yeah, right. I mean, if they bounce Jorge and keep the budget the same, that'll be plenty of money for Dovey and for someone else. And that's the thing too. You know that Dovey is going to renegotiate his contract and ask for considerably more after last year's performance.
He already renegotiated with Red Bull. Shit, that whole thing is a Red Bull now. No more Dovey horses and shit or whatever that was on the old helmet. That's just one solid Red Bull advert now.
I feel like Dennis cried a little bit when the horses went away.
Yeah.
Poor Dennis. But he loves that Dovey helmet. I know, right? But so Jarvis has a point. I mean, the arms race, like Red Bull money at KTM, Aprilia being there, right? All the three main factories that have a chance at winning have their rider contracts up. Marquez may be looking for somewhere else to go. There were rumors that he was going to go to KTM. There's going to be a lot of money thrown around next year in the off, or actually not next year. It's going to happen 6 months from now in the summer because that's when they got to start thinking about it.
I didn't realize you and Lynn were such comrades. Okay, comrade. How is the party treating you, by the way?
If I could get some Yamaha parts from Lynn Jarvis, that'd be nice.
As we talked about earlier, this is fucking America. This is the land of the free and the home of the rich. Next thing I know, you're going to be talking about how all of the riders should have health insurance. And all
Wait, they don't? They don't have health insurance?
And should have pensions. And people should be getting treated equally and fairly. Not
oh, man.
We're treading water. We're treading into off-limit waters here. But
it's okay. Calling me a communist was not actually on the no-go zone. So you're fine.
Exactly. Fucking communist. Exactly. Okay, Carl. But, yeah, I mean, at one point he's right. And the second point, this, like, because some people have brought this up to me, like, other sports have, I mean, I don't follow a lot of European sports, but, like, you know, football has salary caps and basketball has salary caps. You know, baseball doesn't because it's the fucking American pastime, and we don't believe in limiting people's earning power based on what other people can or can't do. But,
awesome.
Right. But what I'm saying is, it's not like salary caps don't exist, but salary caps exist in sports where dudes make fucking jack. Like this came out like. These guys don't even make that much. We're talking about salary caps on a fucking on a class where some riders don't even get paid. You know what I mean? Like, This isn't the same level where an arms race is going to turn into breaking the bank and making teams, like small market teams, you know, do terrible. I mean, you know, the Jaguars suck and they're always going to suck. Wait, didn't they just beat them? No. But it's like, small market teams generally do poor, and the idea in those other stick and ball sports is if we don't have some kind of salary cap, basically we are proving the ability they can never play. They can never compete. But we already have that happening because factories give Tech 3-year-old bikes, or they hold parts away from Honda. So we're not worried about the fact that a salary cap is going to make satellite teams not competitive. We as motorsport fans have accepted the fact that satellite teams aren't as good.
Yeah, I mean, and you brought up markets too. There are no markets in MotoGP. They're all in the same market. They compete against each other every time.
Right, like Honda is not revenue sharing the Motegi ticket sales with all of the markets. It's just not the same thing. So even though there's salary caps in other sports, and I sort of agree with them, otherwise the Yankees would just buy everyone because they account for like 40% of all sales in you know MLB merchandise or whatever. It's like, it's not the same. The analogy isn't applicable. And the idea that we need to limit these guys because they might make $11 million a year. No offense, but LeBron James wiped his ass with an $11 million bill last night. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's fucking retarded. Like, these guys don't make shit. And this, like, document came out recently that showed how much people made and said Marquez was making, like, $12 million a year. By the way, the guy who commented Marquez is making $12 million a year so he can still share bunk beds with Alex Marquez in his parents' attic. You win the internet, my friend. For today, you win the internet. But it's like, these guys don't make enough to warrant a salary cap. If they were telling me they were going to sign Marquez for $50 million or $100 million, I mean, Alex Rodriguez got signed to $250 million at one point. You know, the Yankees were paying his salary years after he left the Rangers with that thing. It's not the same level of, it's not applicable because the contracts aren't even close to the same, despite the fact they travel more. They're theoretically larger worldwide stars. They, you know, theoretically risk their health and well-being more. I think there's an argument that football is just as dangerous. But in the grand scheme of things, these guys are traveling more, risking more, and being exposed to more people for way less money. And Lynn Jarvis is trying to say we're going to have Russian collusion to make sure these guys don't make too much money because it might be like a pain in the butt.
I mean, for the amount of revenue that GP makes, like the rider salaries are quite high, right? It's a large portion of all of that. I think I would guess that in baseball, right, the only reason why they have crazy large salaries is because the stadiums and the teams are making shit tons of money.
No,
right?
The real reason they have crazy large salaries is because they have communist-ass unions who let them collectively bargain and not let them, you know, the market pay their fair share.
Someone did already say union in the comments.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, that's the real reason baseball makes so much money is the players' union is insanely powerful. And I'm not trying to get crazy and go off our syllabus, but if there was ever a point where some kind of writers' union need to start really thinking about this, it's when we are at the point where team owners are in the public saying we are going to band together to make sure you guys don't make too much because it'd be a hassle for us.
Wait, you mean like 3 days ago?
If you put, I will lead the charge for that union, dog. I mean, Das Kapital all day long. You're telling me these guys are alienated from their labor like crazy, son. The fruits of their labor are being sold off, and the bourgeoisie and the proletariat. I'm just saying, you know, riders of the world unite.
Riders of the world unite. No, Ruben, the series that shall not be named does not have salary caps, near as I can tell. And those drivers get paid considerably. No, they get paid considerably more than MotoGP.
That's what I mean. They're getting paid like fucking a lot of money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Michael Schumacher in his heyday was like, you know, always in the top 10 of highest paid riders, you know, of the year, stuff like on Forbes list.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you add another zero to their salary, to the GP salaries, and you have something comparable. Right. And even the drivers that bring in money from governments to pay for rides take home more money than the same people in MotoGP because the money just isn't there. It's a much larger market, which is why it's much larger salaries. I mean, the collusion is silly. Like, I don't think that we're going to see out of control.
Collusion. Okay?
There's
no collusion.
Sorry.
There's zip, nada. There's no collusion. We should be talking about how revenues are up, how the stock market is up, and how McDonald's, how you got to get 2 fish fillets, 2 milkshakes, and 2 king-size fucking fries and apple pie. There was no collusion.
I mean, I don't see Marquez making $50 million next year. At least not. I mean, maybe he gets a 5-year contract for 50 million euros at 10 million a year, which would make it the largest contract in GP ever, but still only comparable to what other people have gotten annually. Like, isn't Jorge getting 9 million annually from Ducati?
It's like 9 million euros or something. The rumor was 12 million, you know, equivalent US dollars. I'm not sure. I mean, this is the other thing. It's so shady. You never actually know how much they make. It's all in rumors. For some reason, it's not public in the same way that every other sport has their salaries quite public. Like, I often think it's hidden so strong because they're so ashamed. You know what I mean? Tito Rabat's making like $8 in Starbucks gift cards, and you know what I'm saying? And it's like, and then Marc Marquez is like, you know, so famous, he's going to be the GOAT and blah, blah, blah. The only guy who ever made any real jack out of this is Valentino, and that's because he basically took over the marketing of every other rider on the grid. Yeah,
he did the smart thing. Holy, I got distracted. Ryan just wanted to know why we need races in these shithole countries. Instagram or YouTube actually.
More races in Norway, son. More races in Norway.
YouTube actually censored that one, but I allowed it. I got distracted.
Rob is going to allow us plebes.
I got distracted. What was I saying? Fuck.
I mean, that's the reason. Why do we have races in shithole countries like Qatar where they outright have, like, slavery and stuff? And, like, they hold... I mean, it's a touchy subject, but the reason they have the race in Qatar is because Qatar uses their dope-ass oil money to basically pay the travel costs of every other race. So they have...
Mm-hmm. Yep, they built a dope track. The royalty there wanted MotoGP to come, and they made it happen. I met a guy that was actually on the board for the people that put that shit together at Laguna a few years ago, and he seemed like a dope guy. Yeah,
my friend Connor won. So that whole area is weird with sports. He's another Brazilian jiu-jitsu guy, but he won an Abu Dhabi trials. It's Abu Dhabi Combat Club, and they fucking paid for him an all expenses paid trip to go have one match in Abu Dhabi.
Seriously,
so weird. He's
one.
Just like a dude, like a random dude. Like
that's awesome.
A guy. Well, he ended up having more because he did well in the tournament, but like they throw huge money at sports, and so you gotta take it because there's no cigarette money, and maybe there's gonna be no fucking energy drink money soon. Who knows? I mean, soon you're gonna have a fucking bike that's shaped like a Red Bull can.
I don't even know if Ducati could make that aerodynamic enough to get down the racetrack.
Why? The idea that that's the part that bugs me because, like, I mean, I like Jarvis and he's cool as a cucumber and all that, but the idea that we're openly discussing, like in print in magazines and websites, that Jarvis is saying when the factories need to come together with the implicit idea of making sure these guys don't make too much money is some bullshit. Now that's straight up, that's that bullshit. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
This is not, that
I suspect that he thought he was suggesting something that would be good for the sport, right? If all the factories had to throw $30 million at a top rider to feel like they were going to be competitive, and they paid nothing to their second rider and didn't have money to support the second tier and third tier teams, it might be bad for the sport. But we know that's not going to happen, right? We've already talked about it. The market isn't big enough there. Marquez isn't going to get a $50 million 1 year or 2 year contract, right? No one wants to pay that much. They don't even need to collude about it. And yeah, to come out and say that because he was borderline wrong about his idea being good for the sport, it's now worse. It's worse for motorcycle racing that he said that.
Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, collusion is foreign collusion involving themselves in the structure of who and who isn't in charge of your establishment is generally not a good idea.
I feel like Herb is gonna lock that down though, right? Because he's the president of IRTA, or is he the president of MSMA?
Who's gonna lock this down is Puig, because Darth Puig is gonna see this. What Jarvis did here was show weakness. He
showed his cards. He showed his cards too soon.
Showed his cards. And Puig is going to be like, yeah, man, we don't, you know what I'm saying? We agree, blah, blah. The whole time he's going to be honeypotting him by offering Maverick like just a little bit more. But he letting him know, Maverick, hey, you got to be number 2, but we're going to pay you a lot and the bike looks good. And then Maverick's going to go back to Jarvis saying, I got to be number 1. I'm the young gun. I got to be number 1. And then Puig is going to play it off. And then Dove is going to be like, hey, man, Repsol fucked me back in the day, and Suppo tried to get me to bounce. And Puig is like, yeah, man, dog, that was some bullshit. You came back to Repsol, we got your back. We take our contracts seriously. We support our riders, and we pay them what they're worth, market value. And then he goes back to Honda, and he says, hey, or Ducati says, hey, man, I ride for you guys, but like your boy back in the day got me almost kicked out. None of that remnants in here is there in the structure still. He's gonna be seating. I mean, dude, fucking Darth Sidious, Emperor Palpatine. Who would have thought the whole crux of all Star Wars was based on trade negotiations between some racist ass looking frogs, right? Puig is going to bring down the entire fucking power structure of Honda, Suzuki, KTM, and fucking Honda and Yamaha by using rider pay as the crux of it.
Damn, you're blowing my mind, Kev. I'm just running circles through my head now. This is ridiculous.
Seriously, when you were a little kid watching Star Wars and you wondered, man, the Emperor is so evil. It's fucking crazy. He's got lightning. He's so cocky and evil, Darth Vader. Did you ever think that the way he came to power was through fucking intergalactic trade negotiations?
No, I really didn't put that one together as like a
Yep.
6-year-old
And
watching Star Wars.
Right, and that's what Puig is doing. Puig is bringing it all together. He's ascending via like Asia Talent Cup and being a rider manager. This guy is playing the Game of Thrones fucking Littlefinger status. You know what
Almost
I mean?
better than
He's
that.
2 steps away from just pushing Marquez out that fucking window. You know what I'm saying?
How long do you have to wait for some new
Game of Prees, you know what I mean?
How long do you have to wait for new Game of Thrones references?
Fuck you. Think about this. We're going to have seen Marc Marquez ride for KTM before we see the next episode of Game of Thrones.
That'll maybe. That might happen. If they offer him $25 million a year, sure.
That's
actually
sweet energy drink money.
Claudio Fox has a good question here that's actually debatable. Are there more competitive bikes available or more competitive riders available?
There's more competitive riders available than bikes available, and that's what they mean about it's going to be a bidding war.
Are you sure?
Look, man, Jorge is not as bad as last year.
I know he's not as bad, but I don't think that there are that few competitive bikes now. Like, if we do all the top 6, can we fill the 2 Yamahas, the 2 Ducatis, and the 2 Hondas with competitive riders?
Right, and so who's left over is what you're saying. Are the competitive riders left over? The question is, how much stock do you put in Zarco's performance this year?
I gotta give him another year before I put true stock into the Zarco hype train.
And Iannone, multi-time podium race winner, he is bad as his results on a non-concessions having Suzuki show.
Probably. Yeah, tough calls.
I think there are more. Let me answer his question specifically. There are more potential race winners on the grid than there are race-winning bikes on the grid.
That much is true. Yeah, that's a good point.
I fully believe that is the case. I think on a factory Yamaha, Zarco wins races. I think on a factory Yamaha, Jorge wins races. I think
same with Iannone.
I think a Iannone wins races on a factory Yamaha, Ducati, or Honda. I really do think that. People hated on Iannone this year, Kevin Schwantz especially, but I think Iannone is way better than the Suzuki made him look. He looked, he's reckless. Yeah, he's a little bit crazy. Yeah, he's weirdly sweaty all the time. And his weirdly older dudes he hangs out with who stare at the camera with fuck me eyes a little too long are a bit strange, but that guy can win races and that guy can podium. I think there's probably 4 other guys. I mean, look at fucking Jack Miller won a race.
No, he didn't.
Who can win. Yeah, exactly. That never happened.
That never happened. Fake news.
Literally never happened.
I mean, the way that I was looking at the question more was less about race wins and more about championship contenders. And I would say that I agree with you. There are definitely people that can win races on solid factory bikes, but there are far fewer championship contenders than there are race winners.
There's only 4 championship contenders.
Yeah. And actually, have we ever had a time when there's been more than 4 championship contenders?
I mean, right. Exactly. There's only 4 right now, and it's potential championship contenders.
Yeah.
And it's Marc Marquez. It's Andrea Dovizioso. It's Jorge Lorenzo on the right bike. Don't look at me. He won 3 titles in a grip races, and he beat Marc Marquez straight up for a title.
All right, keep going. Keep going. Who's number 4?
And I forgot my other one. What was that? And Maverick Vinales.
Okay.
Excuse me. I believe those are the only 4 actual people who contend for a championship in the right circumstances this year. I hate to say it, but Valentino I don't think is one of them. And I don't think Danny...
Wait, so you're putting more stock into Jorge on the Ducati than you are on Rossi on the Yamaha in 2018?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying there's 4 riders who can contend a championship in some way.
Okay.
Jorge is one of those.
Yeah.
He's just not on the bike, but he's an available rider. We're talking about available riders in 2019. He's an available rider
that's a very
who
good
contend
point.
for the championship.
Yeah.
Mark Marquez is an available rider who can contend for the championship. So is Dovi, and so is Maverick Vinales. I do not think anyone else can contend for a title. I think there's more race winners than race-winning bikes available, but less championship-winning riders than championship bikes available.
Damn it, now we're fucking agreeing again. Piece of shit.
Yeah.
All right. Do we want to talk about Kevin Schwantz saying Iannone needs to be replaced?
Straight up. Fuck Kevin Schwantz straight up the booty hole.
Should I?
This fucking guy. My man Panigale John messaged me like 2 weeks ago about this, and we had a whole conversation about this. I can't stand Kevin Schwantz. Dude's a straight bitch. Okay, look. He won a bunch of races, won a title. I got nothing but respect for his accomplishments as a motorcycle racer. And nothing but absolute respect and awe. He's an amazing motorcycle racer, always was and always will be. But as a team manager or a rider liaison or whatever you want to call someone in a management position, he sucks balls. And I personally, the way you motivate a rider who still has a year left on his contract is not saying we got to replace him.
Wait, it's not you don't take the Sam Lowe's approach?
No, that's the worst thing you do. I just gave Puig mad props for taking all the heat from Pedrosa and like sucking it into him to keep the pressure off Danny so Danny can do what Danny has to do, right? The worst thing you could have is have like your marquee Suzuki rider suddenly talking shit, sowing dissent, and causing problems and disrupting the harmony within the team, a team that desperately needs to claw back to where they were, a team who's given the chance to work their asses off via the concessions and be able to do so. So if you say, look, the key to our team doing good this year is concessions means, hey, we got to work extra hard to find the problems and fix them, but at least we're given the opportunity to be able to do so. Kevin Schwantz is throwing a huge fucking monkey wrench in that. And I personally, and I'll tell you this, the root of my dislike from Schwantz is I will tell you straight up, I believe Kevin Schwantz specifically derailed John Hopkins' career in MotoGP.
Really?
Yes.
John Hopkins. I feel like there's a lot of backstory here.
There's mad backstory, and if you were wondering if you were going to get it, just give me a second.
Holy shit. Kev, it's already been an hour and 15 minutes, so I feel like you have some time. You got some time.
We got time. Look, back in the day, Hopper was the man. I was big on Hopper, so was John Ulrich. I liked Hopper. And I'm not afraid to admit, I was bigger on Hopper than I was on Nicky Hayden. I was a big John Hopkins fan. I liked him. In fact, John Hopkins had the balls to say the 800cc rule was entirely so Spanish midgets could win. And I love that he said that.
Yeah, well, it turned out to be true. Except for Pedrosa.
Right, but you know what I mean? But it was just, they were trying to force a new style of rider. But Kevin Schwantz, John Hopkins was offered a ride with Gresini Honda, a factory ride, and Schwantz basically fully convinced him that a factory ride with Gresini was never a true factory ride, which is sort of true. But that the Suzuki ride was better because he'd have direct input from the factory, and the factory's going to listen to him, and the factory is going to build their bike and program around him and increase the investment. And he basically honeypotted the fuck out of fucking John Hopkins, into staying with Suzuki with the false promise that he would have way more investment and all this, Suzuki was going to invest and throw all this money, time, and effort into the bike. So he bailed on a race-winning bike. Don't forget, that Gresini bike was a race-winning bike year after year after year in that era. And he completely lied to him, exaggerated, and over-embellished Suzuki's interest level and commitment to MotoGP to keep John Hopkins purely for branding purposes and for Red Bull fucking sponsorship, money purposes. And what happened to John Hopkins? The bike never got any better. They only got a little bit better in 2007 because of the Bridgestones. And then when Hopper finally the only thing he had left to do was make a lateral move to Kawasaki to finally get paid, which he had to do, and that completely derailed everything. John Hopkins should have been a race winner, in my opinion, a multi-time race winner in the era of 2005-6 when you could have won races on that satellite Honda.
When anyone could have won races on that satellite Honda.
When Tony freaking Elias could have won races on that bike.
All you needed was the right front tire. Yeah.
Which they had. He kept him on old Bridgestones at the time, which weren't the best tires there ever were, and he kept him on a team that they knew was not investing long-term in the series. They knew for a fact that Suzuki was not wholly invested in that, and that Honda was.
Damn, I didn't know you felt so strongly about Hopper and Kevin Schwantz.
Hopper, I can't, like, it turns out Hopper's kind of a piece of shit because there's kind of some rumors that, like, he might have got too drunk and beat up his girlfriend or wife that one time, and that's what weirdly happened that one super weird race where he, like, didn't show for practice, then showed and all that.
Well, we knew he was completely wasted when he showed up in the morning,
right.
But yeah.
So I'm not bringing that up, but I'll tell you right now, there's nothing's going to drive a man to drink faster, other than having to co-host a podcast with Rob, than like the biggest regrets of what might have been late at night in 2007, 8. Hopper's thinking, man, if I just took that fucking Grassini ride, what might have been? Could have won some races. Could have got a factory Ducati ride of that thing, maybe. Who knows? Could have been a race winner. Could have at least had that one gold trophy up on my mantle saying, I won a GP race.
I mean, I feel like
fuck that shit big time.
That's a condition of any racer that's not a championship winner or contender, though, right? There's always the what ifs of, like, holy shit, what if I'd taken that different ride, or what if I'd made that pass, or what if I'd done this differently? You know, it's something racers always deal with it, and
right,
if it drove him to alcohol, it kind of shows his lack of mental strength.
It drove Freddie Spencer to crack.
Yeah.
And he won championships. And he was smoking crack like Tyrone Biggums on a fucking corner in Brooklyn. Freddie Spencer started a track day race school company to steal money from rich-ass businessmen so he could smoke crack.
You heard it here. Perfect. I know you're not joking. That's the best part.
This is not me being crazy.
That's the best part.
Too much. This is just an actual thing that happened.
The comments got really quiet. Really quiet.
Yes. Y'all don't think Freddie Spencer smoked crack? Come on. But here's the thing. Like, look at Jack Miller, for example. If Jack Miller's career never pans out from here, he can always say to himself, as he looks up on his fucking mantle and he's got his Vegemite sandwich, and his Aboriginal bro is rocking a didgeridoo, and it's like 127, and they have skin cancer from no ozone. He can say, look, man, I won a race. I proved that when conditions are right, I could do it. If I had gotten the bike, I could have won the title, or whatever, right? But with that one win shows him, or even with Cal, right? Cal's drunk as fuck on the Isle of Man. Maybe his wife is or isn't messaging random BrotoGP members, but I'm just saying.
You know, not in the way you're thinking. Not in the way you're thinking.
Yeah. But he can say, hey, man, when the time was right, in the dry and in the wet, I won that race.
Yep.
If certain politics had gone the right way, if certain contracts had gone this, I could have fought for a title, and there's my proof on the mantle right there, right?
And
but
Hopper didn't
got that.
Vermillion won I can't even pronounce it. Chris fucking won a race, and Hopper didn't even get it for Suzuki.
Yeah. Vermillion.
Mullion. I know. Molly. All right.
Yeah,
now let's
no, that's a big thing. So I think, Kevin Schwantz can fucking eat a bag of dicks for all I care, because I don't give a fuck. You're telling me I don't care. He's like one of the good American riders. Guess what? There was like 1,000 hella dope American riders in 1992. They were winning fucking titles back to back to back all over the place. You ain't special, dog. That was how it was back in the day. For me, Schwantz derailed his career, and then he's showing yet again that you might have been hella good as a rider, but you know the first thing about being a coach, going back to, if he really wanted Suzuki to be better, he would be spending the entire offseason helping Iannone to be as good as possible, because Iannone winning on that bike, even if you don't want him, gets other people.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we already saw Pedrosa was offered money by Suzuki back, a couple years ago.
Wasn't going to take it.
No.
Yeah.
He wouldn't take it. But if Iannone won 2 races and had 3 podiums on the Suzuki, Other riders would take that. Zarco would take that ride.
That's the only way that KTM is going to get Marquez to sign if somehow Pole puts it on the box or something consistently next year. It's the only way. Yeah, you're totally right.
He would know that the long-term health of the Suzuki program is completely predicated on Iannone turning it around. Because what does that prove? If Iannone turns it around this year and they get like a win, or even he just gets like a bunch of podiums, they could say, look, not only are we invested in this program, but we proved it. Because the moment we were given extra time to test and develop, we did it, and we developed it to a race-winning bike, and we turned it around with our rider. So they'll know. Because what did Ducati prove? They proved with Dovizioso, if you stick with us and we hash it out and we work it through, we're going to get you to a race win. Ducati proved that with Iannone. Stick this out and we get you. With Dovizioso. If they shit the bed with Iannone at Suzuki, all they're proving is one bad year and we don't give a fuck about you, and they're the next Aprilia.
Well, I mean, they'll go back to being the original Suzuki too, because we saw that many times before. They put in 3 years, they give up, and then they bounce. So
this is the exact reason why Baldy Smith still has a job, because KTM knows that we can't get rid of him, even though what's-his-name is better, Kallio, because if we do, we send a signal to all the other riders that one bad year, if you acclimate a little bit slow to this bike and team, you're fucked. And you're in Moto 2. You know what I mean? You're Sam Lowe's. The Sam Lowe's rule is solid. If you Sam Lowe's a rider, ain't no one going to sign for you, and the best thing you got is Scott Redding.
Damn. Yeah, that's true.
Next thing you know, instead of hot chicks and thongs in your fucking pit box and fucking energy drink money galore, you got like a couple of ratty-ass dogs that used to be Maverick Vinales and a fucking lamb.
All right, I'm going to transition. Let's do a couple of listener questions. Everyone, I'm going to do some ones off of Facebook and Instagram first, but if you guys got questions in the live chat, go ahead and start typing them now. Let's see. If given a chance, who would you rather have as a guest on the show, Rossi or Iannone? And I think this is specifically for you, Kev.
Well, Rossi equals like 1 million YouTube subscribers like yesterday.
So many.
Iannone might equal us getting banned from YouTube because this shit is live and we can't control it. I'm telling you right now, Rob's trigger finger on his mouse is not nearly as fast as fucking Iannone's trigger dick.
I don't know how to use this software all that well, so
yeah, Rob does not know our live stream software nearly good enough for the naked dude walking by in the background of Iannone's live stream.
Wait. Speaking of that, someone just said, "Who keeps looking between the curtains outside? It's super creepy."
What?
I don't know. Got a senior duck.
What?
I'm sure he's not being completely serious.
Why you gotta tell me that?
Because it's awesome. Someone said, Iannone.
George has been looking up randomly at the window like 8 or 9 times. I was wondering what he was doing. What the fuck?
This is just like the gas station, man. Just like the gas station.
Not cool. And
it's got to be one of the outdoor cats.
If y'all had seen my house, I mean, the hills have eyes at my house. Where I live, if you roll up here at night and you aren't used to it, it's a little creeper status. It's a little bit weird.
I feel like you don't have a porch light. There's no street lights out there. It's a fucking barn, right? It's a little
weird, yeah.
Everyone's laughing at you, man. That was perfect. Thank you. That's a perfect reaction. No, okay. All right. So I feel like you answered that question. Well, you didn't. Like, Rossi would be legit. Rossi would blow blooded.
I don't know who was looking out my window right now.
Oh, man. All right. How about a question about MotoAmerica? Who gets Gerloff's seat? I feel I'll answer that one.
The original question is you have to take Valentino.
Oh, yeah. You got to take Valentino.
Sorry, man. You got to take Valentino. Because here's the thing. I can ask Valentino about Iannone's sexcapades. And he's going to know because he's been there. Or he'll give some shit-eating grin look, right? Like, remember when they asked Valentino, him about the voodoo curse? And then he played it off and he looked at that one journalist and he was like, You know, like hit him with the voodoo curse. Valentino, we'd ask him like, bro, you gotta tell us like what's happening at the pad, what's going on with the sweaty workouts, and he would give us some shit-eating grin, and we wouldn't know it'd be funny. But we can't ask Iannone to hook us up with all the Valentino subscriber fans. You know
No, I feel like we can't ask Iannone what happened in the private jet. We can't ask him why he fucking broke the window on his Land Rover instead of just calling whatever the hell Italian AAA is. Like, yeah, it'd be better to have Rossi on the show.
Yeah, you got to call WLF. Yeah. Boom.
Oh, all right. Someone in the comments leave what WLF stands for, and I'll see if YouTube fucking censors that shit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The guy in the comments, write out what that is, and let's find out.
Yeah, I mean, write it out in Italian, right? That'll be good. No, so the MotoAmerica silly season question. No one is getting Gerloff's seat. Graves, I'm pretty sure Graves is only running one bike next year with a beach on it. Heron, we hope to have him on the show to tell you what he's doing next year. Fong is riding.
We will. Heron's coming on.
Oh yeah, Heron's coming on.
He's fully in. Yeah, Heron's gonna be on. I want Heron to just be like our regular guy. Like, I want like Rob, me, Heron, and Channing Tatum. Y'all think I'm joking about the Channing Tatum comment.
I feel like
y'all think I'm joking.
Dude, go down to Thunder Hill, take your phone, I'll give you the login, and you can just live stream those two to our fucking YouTube channel.
Exactly.
Both of them.
And that's going to be ProtoGP. Kev, Rob, Heron, and Tatum.
Oh my God! YouTube totally did censor Viva La Figa. But only the first time. Only the first time. The second and third time it went through.
YouTube.
Oh man, whatever. That shows you they're only 10 seconds behind this time.
Yeah. Exactly.
Fong is racing for Hudson Racing. So he's doing a superbike ride with Hudson Racing. Bryce Prince is going back down to Super Sport. And that's pretty much the only MotoAmerica news I have for you right now. Well, Riders Lost signed Jackson Blackman to one of their R3 seats. There might be a second R3 seat, so that was pretty cool. He got 4th in the championship last year, I'm pretty sure. Won a race or two. Not sure on that one.
Now he's got that sweet lawyer money behind him.
Oh man! Oh, you don't even know what I've been designing to keep that team looking amazing. All right, no. Someone wanted to know.
I think we're gonna try and get Heron on. He's totally down. He's interested, and he can explain to you guys directly what he's doing.
Yeah. Someone wants to know what's up with the sudden lack of lamb footage on Redding social media. I think you almost touched on it earlier.
I touched on it a little bit. I'm thinking, look, that was not a good idea. Right?
You don't say. Say.
Like, I live on a farm in a barn. There's like 20 sheep 50 feet from where I'm sitting right now. And getting a lamb still not the best idea. And my girlfriend, who's in the other room right now, does not race international motorcycle racing on a completely different schedule than I do. Okay? Like, I know potty training, like if they had gotten a cat, right? Like they got a cat, you put a box full of dirt in the corner, and if you're not there, it really doesn't care and it shits in the box. If you have a lamb and you leave it alone for a while, shit is fucked up when you get home. Fucked up. I mean, that thing ate your Roku box so fast. That thing shit all over the place. Your Amazon Fire Stick has been fully digested and shat out, and that shit is on your couch. You can't have a lamb with that. You got to commit yourself, because a lamb is not a house animal. So if you want to make it your house pet, some work goes along with that. You know what I mean? Like, you can't just have a pig and not, like, because pigs aren't normal domesticated house pets. They can be, but with a little bit of work. If you fucking leave it alone, that animal might eat the door handle off the refrigerator. You know what I mean? Those things eat what the fuck ever. It kicked a hole in the wall. You got so many holes in your drywall, it's not even funny. Maybe the lamb ate Redding's phone, and that's why it's not happening anymore. Nah, I mean, lamb, what the lamb was clearly fucking Fontesa's idea, right? That Redding did not see that lamb and think, dope, a lamb would be sweet. I got a couple of dogs. That's awesome. Because Redding, like, he's like a total chav, manly, chauvinist, like, English, bloke. He's got a bunch of stupid tattoos. He's got, like, excuse me, I got to sneeze. That's the fucked up part with the live stream. I got to sneeze like a motherfucker and everyone can watch. God.
You look very uncomfortable right now.
That was bad. Like, he's got his dogs, and he's got his tats, and he, like, boxes for his thing. He didn't think a lamb was dope. Kiara said that lamb was awesome, but you know what that lamb was? That lamb was her and Maverick's failed love, and she needed a little baby thing to stroke and rehabilitate and love on and baby and foster. That lamb was the personification of everything they had and that now is lost. That lamb was their innocence.
It's gone already?
John Milton style. That was the fucking Paradise Lost. But ain't no Jesus coming down to save everyone from those sins. They got to live in that one because, like they say in Game of Thrones, there is only one hell, and it's this world. And she's stuck in it. Well, oh, boy. Yeah. That was bound to happen eventually. You get me too excited about Game of Thrones, and shit starts happening.
Did the tripod take a dump or a cat get it, or what was that?
The tripod took as strong as a dump as their interest in that lamb did.
Ruben said the lamb ate all the donkey fresh gear, and now it's lamb chops.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
All right, we're moving on from this one. All right, where will Jorge end up after 2018?
Right.
Because, Suzuki.
Yeah, probably. And probably a better fit for him, honestly.
I mean, it all depends. Like Iannone said that the Suzuki chassis was really nice when he first got there, but everything's really nice. As Kevin Schwantz said, everything is really nice when you only ride at 95%.
Right. And here's the thing. He knows he can go to fucking Suzuki because Schwantz can't say shit because Schwantz might have won a championship, but Jorge won 3 and has more wins than him. So Schwantz can shut the fuck up. Because right now, the only thing he has going for him is that he won more races and titles than his fucking riders that ride for Suzuki. But if Jorge shows up, I mean, Schwantz like, shut the fuck up and get me a coffee, brah. I mean, join this shirtless volleyball crew, and that's about what you're good for because you can't do shit.
Wow. I hit a fucking nerve. Didn't I do this last episode too or the one before?
The other problem is me and him have the same initials. That annoys me.
That annoys you. All right, Kev, last question.
No, keep it going.
Well, no one's posted any questions in the live chat. Come on, guys.
Don't say no one. Everyone's asleep because like 90% of our fans are on the East Coast or are in fucking England, and they're all asleep or it's 3 a.m. there.
Paul Saylor says we're going long. He also says no, not Suzuki. Wait, I say it's going long, and you don't give me a title or Rob sex tape for that. Come on, help me out.
That's because you don't go long. Right? Help me out. Title Rob sex tape.
Set myself up for that one. Damn it.
Right.
All right, this is a serious question. Does testing actually provide any insight into the season?
Fuck.
Serious question. Do you want me to? I'll take this one first. One first.
Let's ponder this one.
We kind of thought it did.
Let me ponder this while I smoke a nice, cool, smooth Marlboro cigarette, which is white at the hand and then goes to a gray, ashy center before we see the bright red promise of the perfect nicotine flow.
Kev, I actually have been wondering what that is. Did you break a leg off of your tripod somehow? What is that?
That's exactly what that is. That's a broken leg off my tripod.
Not only did Kev have microphone problems last week and again this week, he also broke his tripod like the first time he used it. I don't know how he managed to accomplish that.
You find a tripod for 50 cents at the fucking Goodwill. 50 cents, you said.
You bought it at the dollar store?
6 months later, the damn thing's broken.
You bought it at the Goodwill? I thought you bought it off of Amazon.
Allegedly.
All
allegedly.
Max Reesing wants to know how many beers I will be able to finish at Chuck Wallow this weekend, and how much will that improve his lap times. Actually, it won't at all, because I'm not bringing the motorcycle. I gotta save up money.
The key is to drink and get wasted the night before. Michael Ernest once told me that the best riding that him and Corey Call ever did was hung over because of how loose and nonchalant they were and how little they cared, because they were just still kind of drunk.
That sounds terrible. That sounds really terrible. Yeah. I drank too much bourbon one night before racing.
If you drank too much bourbon, and you crashed your motorcycle, you could call riderslaw.com
you keep bringing up DUIs and stuff. I don't know if Riders Law is going to dig that. But no, we got to get back to the freaking question. Does testing actually provide any insight to the season? It's
a reference point. Look, Maverick won the testing championship, and he went on to win multiple races and get third in the title. Did he win the whole championship? No, but showing that you're consistently fast across different factors and different tracks in testing generally will show that you're going to do pretty well in the season, and Maverick's a good example of that. Marquez, another good example, comes in his rookie season. He has the white bike with 93 on his leathers 93 times. That was really weird. Google that. And he looks fast, and he wins races and wins the title. If you are consistently fast in preseason testing, then yes. If you've got one test where you're really fast, not so much. It just means maybe other guys were working tests. They weren't trying for outright fast lap times. But if you are consistently fast all preseason, yes, then it's a good indicator you're going to at least be competitive.
And you'll be competitive early in the year.
Yes.
But as we know in motorcycle racing, shit changes. Factories do development. People lose their way in setup. Michelin may change the tire or something, right? There's a lot of stuff that happens. And the second half of the season is generally not exactly like the first half of the season. So I would say that, testing is quite a good reference point for the first quarter, the first half of the season. It's not really that good of a reference point unless someone's like walking away with the title. But if it's a battle like it was last year, no, shit's out the window.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a championship level caliber, but what it shows you is who's going to be pretty darn good regardless.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard for me to think of times where a guy sucked in testing and then was good, or a guy was really good in testing and sucked in the season. Maverick's a good example. Jorge was pretty good off the bat, but that was with the winglets at Valencia, and then as soon as they lost the winglets, the rules changed. That's not really an applicable scenario that people are probably going to bring up later on Instagram or on Facebook. But, Valentino came back from the Ducati, the dungeon, went to Yamaha and was pretty good in testing and didn't fight for the title, but, fought for, he had a race win, had some podiums, and chased that team, chased that crew of the top three, Pedrosa, Marquez, and Lorenzo.
It's almost like testing can define like a range where you'll end up in the championship or in most of the races, but it's not going to give you who's 1, 2, 3, and 4. It'll just tell you, they might fight for wins. I mean, for me, I actually think that FP1 is a better indicator week in and week out of what someone's going to do. Right? We saw that at the end of last year, like Dovi and Marquez were solid in FP1. They were fighting for the win. They had great races. Right? Like when you have your base setup down, then the whole weekend becomes easier and you can refine your race setup after that. If you don't have your base setup down, then you're losing track time. Then you're making guesses. You do things wrong. You don't find the way. You're not refining your race pace as much as everyone else that already has their base setup can do. Like testing is somewhat comparable because people should be working on that. But I mean, Ducati hasn't brought their new bike out yet. They haven't worked on setup on that. Yamaha has a shit ton of stuff to fix. Honda's in refinement mode. Like, if we see something that's indicative of the entire championship this year, it'll be the fact that Marquez is towards the front, and that'll be about it.
Playing catch up rarely equates to doing well.
No, yeah.
Right? Like in any situation, in testing, in FP1, if you're out the box fast, you know your setup, you refine it, you work on the nuances, your rider is confident and comfortable, you've got fudge room to practice and mess around. If you're playing catch up, you're gripping a little harder, you are trying a little too much, there's probably too many things to throw at the wall, and you don't have as smooth of a testing schedule. I think Rob's FP1 reference is perfect. Just like testing. If you do well in testing consistently, you've already established we've got a pretty good route to what we're doing. We have a plan, and it's going well, so we're on the route. It's like boxing, right? If you come out the gate and you're getting the shit kicked out of you, it doesn't generally equate. Because what do you start doing? You start looking for the one-punch knockout, and instead of continuing to build towards that knockout. And when you're looking for the magic bullet, and when you're look at Ducati circa Rossi, you start looking for the magic bullet. Magic bullets don't exist anywhere, man. The silver bullet for motorcycle racing does not exist. Even Valentino and his vaunted like Saturday night, late night sessions where they figure out something. That's generally when he's already close to the cusp. He's got to figure out one last thing. Rarely does a big old gamble pay off unless it's wet, right? Otherwise, big gambles that's for the desperate, and the desperate rarely actually compete and do well. This can't be Minnesota throwing a Hail Mary pass, and the only reason that pass worked is because that idiot didn't try and tackle that guy.
Yeah, I mean, you saw what Hail Marys did for Yamaha at Valencia, right? At the end of this year.
Right.
They took the chance on last year's chassis. They knew it probably wasn't going to work, and hey, it didn't work. They ended up about exactly the same spot that they would have finished on the current year chassis, and that was it. The Hail Mary wasn't there. There was no happy ending.
Hail Marys with Ducati that second year where they're just throwing they got aluminum frames, carbon frames, they add that weird half twin spar frame. Remember that thing with the weird extended? Yeah. Yeah, Hail Marys don't work in motorcycle racing, man. It's not going to work. So to answer the question, preseason testing is indicative of who's going to be competitive, but not who's going to be competitive for the title.
Yeah. And the other thing, too, is looking at the fast lap time in testing doesn't really do all that much, right? They turn 60 laps a day, sometimes even more. And if all the laps are dead slow and then they put in one fast lap time, that it tells you absolutely nothing. It tells you they're dead slow. It doesn't tell you that they're fast.
Right.
The guy that put in 50 laps at right off of their fastest lap time is going to do better once the racing actually starts.
Yeah, and the other thing you got to be careful of, the caveat is don't get fucking tricked. Don't get beer goggled by the satellite rider who does well. Because that satellite rider he ain't got shit to test. He's just trying to go fast, and he's just trying to prove to people that he's fast. The fucking Yamaha guys are the ones riding, testing 8 different chassis and this and that. And the Ducati guys are testing all this different aerodynamics. And the fucking Honda guys are testing 8 different engines with the pitch and degree of the engine differently. And Scott Redding's fuck, I got this Pramac Ducati. I'm just going to go fast on it. Same with Miller. So,
and he's got 2 now. He'll have 2. So that, he can throw one away and still be good.
Right. So the caveat is I'm excluding satellite riders from that entire statement that I just said. I'm only speaking of the factory riders.
Yeah, well, because I figured someone that's asking about actual insight for testing when they're talking about the factory riders.
They're the only ones testing anything.
Yeah, it's true. All right, we got Cal will be doing quite a bit of testing. He'll probably be slower because of it. All right, we got a few more. Didn't Michelin change the secret sauce of the tires and screwed over Maverick Vinales last year? Yes, they did. Did it screw over Vinales? Somewhat. Yamaha kind of screwed themselves on that one. If you were Yamaha, would you follow Rossi or Mav's setup direction? Is that a valid question? Is their setup direction different?
That's the question. Are they to be able to answer that question? We first have to clarify whether their setup direction is different.
Maverick does not brake as hard as Rossi does. Rossi and Dovi are still classically known as the late breakers. That's where they make all their pace by feeling really comfortable.
they're the last of the late breakers one more time.
You don't. Nick Harris retired. I'm sorry.
I'm going to let the guy in the back here who's been spying on me all day fucking kill me and get it over with.
I'm sorry. It just slipped in there. Sorry.
So weird. Yeah, title Rob sex tape.
Shit.
You know what? During this political climate, Rob, that's the unreleased Rob sex tape. Sorry, it just slipped in there. He decided at a later date that was not a good one. He didn't release that one. That's an underground bootleg copy. If you've got a copy of Sorry, I just slipped it in there. You're one of the select few.
That sounds really bad.
Yes.
All right, I'm trying to add something to the thing here. All right.
All right.
No, what was okay?
You're trying to talk about motorcycles or your pretend sex tapes?
Yeah, either way. No, I mean, I think that Yamaha's problems with their setup and with their direction for next year it's not either Rossi or Maverick will fix them. Like what works for Rossi will work for Maverick when we're talking about the things that Yamaha needs to fix. Right. The main place where their riding differs is on corner entry, and the corner entry was a little screwed up last year for them. Right. Rossi specifically said that last year's bike, the one that Zarco was on, was easier to ride. It was easier to get into the corner, but it wasn't slower. Right. And then the main problems that they had was tire life, the rear tire getting out of the corner. Those things they need to fix first. They can worry about the other shit later. But hey, peak frame already happened. So we don't know what they're going to do. And peak frame worked out reasonably well for Rossi and Jorge.
Right. Correct.
All right.
I think the real thing is they need to invest some serious time in their aerodynamics and finding out how can we use aerodynamics. Because here's the thing. If you can have multiple aero packages, you can have an aero package that works best for Valentino and an aero package that works best for Maverick while still splitting the middle with your frame and chassis. I think that Ducati has proven that aerodynamics, that avenue is a correct avenue towards wins if you really invest in it. I don't know how much different they're not diametrically opposed in the same way that Jorge was. I think the problem was that Jorge and Valentino were so far apart that by taking the strengths from either, you made this very neutral, easy to ride bike, which we saw with Zarco and Jonas Folger and all of that. Maverick and Valentino aren't far enough apart that by taking the strengths you make, with our powers combined, we are Captain Planet. It's like you got to pick one or the other, but I don't know. The real question is are Maverick's weaknesses, are Maverick's strengths not Valentino's weaknesses or vice versa? It's like which guy's focus is not the problem for the other guy. Like, does focusing on a bike that does really well in late braking really fuck with Mav's style? Or
I wouldn't say so.
Right, but does Mav's mid-corner exit style throw off Valentino's biggest strength of his late braking? The question is it's like diminishing returns. Which focus? It's not, do we focus on only Valentino at the detriment of Maverick, or only Maverick at the detriment of Valentino? It's by focusing slightly more towards one style or the other, which one is going to allow both riders to do well?
I mean, it's interesting you even bring up Jorge, because a lot of people are saying that that the reason why Zarco is fast is because his corner entry is comparable to Jorge. And that's why he was able, he runs super soft springs. He doesn't brake that hard or that late. And he's able to just get the bike through the corner in a way that Jorge did. And like you said, the Jorge and Rossi bike did amazing, and it kept doing amazing with Zarco. So, right. Yeah, I mean, Yamaha has a whole host of problems. They almost remind me of Ducati from 3 years ago, as opposed to Yamaha that we've seen for a decade now. It's insane that they've got this many issues. And it came out, I think we talked about on the last podcast, it came out that they don't have the software technicians anymore to use the current spec ECU and the spec software. They obviously lost their way with the tires. Like, too much shit has changed, and they haven't got it together. But all right, I think I'm calling it, Kev.
What?
You put your glasses on like you're gonna go all artist Kev on us, but I think I'm just gonna end it.
I just got sick of squinting.
Are you? Don't you have one of those plus phones?
I do. It's fucking gigantic. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It does. I think that's the root of the broken tripod. Is it's too big for the tripod. I was trying to extend the tripod too far, and I just yanked it out.
Ryan Ring said Ducati's always used exhaust valves on their GP bikes. They just usually hide them better. But they were there.
Right.
It wasn't in. They moved it over because the salad box got bigger, and now you can see it easier. Well, it didn't get bigger compared to what they raced last year. It's got bigger compared to last year's winter reveal photos.
It got bigger compared to last year. Title of Rob Sexton.
I'm fine with that one.
You're right. It's a good one.
All right, everyone. I'm calling it. Kevin's gonna be looking out his window all night.
That's some fucked up shit. What was going on out there?
Someone said there were like 20 sheep hanging out with Scott Redding out there.
Yeah, exactly. Redding is fucking stalking me, you know, because he found out about Project Catfish. He don't like that shit.
Someone still wants Veronica to be introduced.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right, guys, we are calling it. This has been episode I forgot. It was 82. I said 82 last time because I screwed it up. It's 82 this time. Hit up Radder's Law if you need any legal help, and we will definitely catch you. If we got something good, we will talk to you before the MotoGP test that's coming up on the 28th. That's why I tried to end with that question. We have GP testing coming up soon. If we don't have anything good before, then we'll talk to you after.
Now I got some things. Hold on real quick.
Yeah.
So, yes, we started 8:30 Pacific time. It's a little late for some of y'all, but we're doing this to get, Rob admitted that he's not, the best with the software yet, but he'll get there. He's a fucking internet genius. He's basically like Zuckerberg with fucking long flowing Legends of the Fall hair. So he's just getting used to doing that shit live, right?
It went smoother this time. It went smoother this time.
Smoother. And so, as the season gets closer, we'll bump things up. Rob and I live on the fucking West Coast because that's the best coast. Tupac, Thug Life, Death Row. You know what I'm saying? And West Side Connection. So, but we will be bumping it, continually earlier to get more involvement on the live stream. But the live stream brings up a good point that the live stream is YouTube. And one of the things that I'm really interested in doing regarding the YouTube channel is adding shorter videos, smaller stuff, not necessarily live, but they could be live. So, good examples like top 5 lists. They can be funny lists, like top 5 races you should watch this offseason. But they can also be like top 5 most fucking ridiculous things Iannone ever did. So I'm definitely looking for you guys' advice on what things you'd want to see on the YouTube channel from us that, it would be very Broto-esque, so to speak. Top 5 titles of Rob's sex tape. That's
they just had 2 people had the same one. It went smoother this time. Title of Rob's sex tape.
Title of Rob's sex tape. Exactly. So it's all good. I definitely think that, we're going to continue to, I live on the Instagram page, basically, and the Facebook page. But I do think that, being able to interact with you guys on YouTube more is cool. More YouTube, content is nice. Let me know what you think. Qualifying reaction. You guys want to get live on fucking YouTube after qualifying? Tell us send me messages, put it on fucking Instagram saying yeah, because then we can do it. Right after qualifying, we're going live. Me and Rob are watching qualifying. The moment that shit's over, we're going live and we're gonna fucking get nutty about it.
Especially on the rounds that are nice to our time zone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that that being said, it's good to go. And one more thing, I want to throw this out. This is a little nerdy, but this is for Rob. But
from you?
From me, but hold on. Facebook has recently changed their algorithm regarding pages, brand. Hold on, no, Rob's laughing, but I'm serious. And businesses and all this shit. So you're going to notice that you're seeing a lot less posts from pages or brands or that kind of bullshit and things that you like, which I kind of agree with because fuck advertising and all that stuff like that. I'm not trying to spend my whole life getting advertised to, which is why we don't really do that shit. But we've been spending most time making you guys a community, get involved, responding to everything. So you should still see us pretty quick and all that, but obviously check things because stuff's not going to appear quite as easy because apparently foreign collusion is a problem on social media. So
there was no collusion. There was no collusion.
No collusion, says Lynn Jarvis, as he colludes to limit the hardworking men and women of this world's pay structure.
They want more movie quotes. They want live race commenting. They want a live Sepang test. I don't know how the live Sepang test works out with the time zone because, yeah, it might work. We could start it off or something.
But these live tests are boring as fuck, though. Like, nothing's happening.
Yeah, but
they don't give you enough info. Like, I would love to comment a test live, but they don't, like, they're not riding around and then having someone feed us info to talk about.
That's why they want you to do it. We will make it more. You will make it more entertaining. Yeah. All right. On that note, everyone, I'm calling it. It's been 2 hours almost to the minute. So I'm gonna do it. I'm hitting the button. All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. There's the George. Bye. Peace.
That felt pretty good, I think.